I hope everybody had a great lunch. Welcome back, welcome back. Court should be back any moment.
Okay. Okay. All right, now, thank you.
Agent Dickerson, when we stopped for the lunch break, I believe we had just concluded the initial crime scene, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And just to be clear, did there come a time that you subsequently returned to that location on December 5th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when you returned to that location, I'm going to slide number 26. I would ask that this be published. Can you see that on your screen, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Can you tell the jury, why did you return on December 5th again?
Yes, ma'am. We had, excuse me, other partners join with us in the search that day, including members of the cadaver.
And can you tell us what's depicted in slide number 26?
This is a portion of Woods Road that kind of loops around to the east off of Jones Road. It's called Bear Hammock Road. It's not a public lane, it's a privately maintained drive, but it's in the same general vicinity. It's about 2.5 miles from the location where the torso was found.
Okay, so it's in the same wooded area, but about 2.5 miles away?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is that 2.5 miles, for lack of a better way to say it, as the crow flies or driving?
I'd have to refer to my notes. It's about 2.8, if I remember correctly, driving.
Okay, so it's a little bit closer as the crow flies, but driving was just a tad farther.
Correct.
Okay, but that's now about 2.5 miles from where the torso was recovered?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you were present for that recovery on that date?
Yes, ma'am. I was actually called after the leg was found, but, yes, ma'am.
So you discussed earlier finding versus recovering. Who found the leg, to your knowledge?
One of the cadaver dog teams was searching the area, and the dog did a great job, did what it was supposed to do, and located that particular portion of the remains.
Okay. Can you tell the jury how far from the edge of this roadway was that leg recovered?
Not very far, about 30 feet or so, maybe a little farther, but not much farther.
Okay. Was that farther than the torso was recovered from the roadway?
Yes, ma'am.
By a little, by a lot?
Just about a little. Well, it wasn't within sight of the road. You could not see the leg where it had been placed in the woods from the roadway. You had to actually enter the wood line, and then you could see it after you walked in.
Now, looking at the woods, were they heavily forested enough that you could take a car there, or would you only have been able to go on foot?
You'd have to walk in here on foot. You might be able to get an ATV in some places, but this was a young stand of planted pines.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that those trees are close together?
They are.
Okay. So you couldn't just drive through it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically, slide number 26, does that depict that roadway?
Yeah, Bear Hammock Road, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is looking to the southwest.
Now, some of the roads, well, let me back up, withdraw. Do all of the roads have names?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So Bear Hammock had a name.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if the Torso Road had a name?
Not that I'm aware of. At the time, it was just a wooded lane. We used a global position system or GPS coordinates to identify the specific location where the torso was located and where the other body parts were located as well.
If you have rural areas, can you explain why GPS coordinates are an option?
Well, for privately maintained roads like this, not all of them are named. So they may be on survey maps, but they may close if an area is logged and the new roads may be made, old roads may be damaged, or their use may be discontinued. So with the exception of private roads, sometimes GPS coordinates are just the most accurate way to record where an incident took place or where an item of evidence was located.
Would that include a longitude and a latitude coordinate? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were those taken for each of these recoveries?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in the following image, well, let me back up. This image, is this at ground level?
No, ma'am.
How was this captured?
This was a drone photograph.
Okay. And would that be the 400 feet or less that you were referring to earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And who would have manned those drones at the time of these incidents?
I took this photograph.
Okay. And is that the way it looked on December 5th of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now, I'm going to actually turn off the monitors for the next slide. Slide number 27. Thank you. I recognize that this is very far away, comparatively. Was this a drone photo or some other photo?
My screen's blank.
Oh. Then we need Ms. Billings, Your Honor, to turn that off.
Pardon, could you step back the chambers and see if Ms. Billings is available, please?
Your Honor, I just take her message.
My apologies, Your Honor. I'm on slide number 26 still, so that we have some difficulty.
Okay, I have it back up now, so it should just.
Can you see what's up there?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, then I'm going to move to slide number 27. Can you see what's depicted in that slide?
I can.
And what is depicted in that slide?
This is a portion of the west part of Bear Hammock Road. It's a little difficult to see in the photograph. If you look around the middle and a little bit to the left of center, you can see Mindy's left leg where it was recovered.
Is that what I've now zoomed into?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the center of the screen now.
Is that in fact vehicles that are on that roadway?
That is.
And what vehicles are those?
I believe that's Agent Sands' Tahoe there in front of us, my truck behind it.
Those are the vehicles that you see to the left of the screen?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm now turning to slide number 28. Can you tell us what's depicted there?
Yes, ma'am. Again, this is an overhead view of the location of the left leg where it was recovered.
And these shots, were these taken before any manipulation of the recovered items is occurring?
Correct. The cadaver team located the leg and then notified us immediately. We responded and then started the documentation process then.
Okay. And when you took these drone photographs, that was from above, not having moved these items, so they would have been where they were initially found?
This is where it was found, yes.
I'm now going to slide number 29. And what is depicted in this slide?
That's Mindy's left leg.
Okay. Would that be fair to say that's simply a ground level shot?
It is.
Okay. And who took that shot?
I did.
And this is again before it was moved?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And slide number 30? What's depicted there, sir?
This is Mindy's left foot. This damage to her area of her toes and her foot is consistent with animal predation or rodent activity, in my experience.
Okay. And so that would have been not necessarily something human done, but rather animals that were unfortunately in the woods?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm now going to slide number 31. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
This is the top of the thigh. In the middle there you see the femur that's been cut through. And the grainy substance there was a colonization of maggots that occurred by the time we reached the leg.
So when you get to the leg that we're looking at in this picture, that was December 5th of 2022, correct?
That's correct.
So how many days have passed since the day that the torso was first recovered?
So the torso was recovered on the 2nd of December, and this was the 5th of December, so several days have passed.
So approximately 3 days had gone by?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that time, this is what was observed when you got there on the 5th?
Yes, ma'am. This is as we discovered the leg.
And that
This is the condition it was
measurement,
in.
my apologies.
This is the condition the leg was in as we discovered it.
What is that white marker that you see just below that leg?
That's a scale placed there for reference, for size.
Okay. And when you made the observation of those insects at that location, can you tell the jury what, if anything, you did in addition to simply photographing this image?
So part of our training, we always try to determine a time of death. It's very difficult to do, and usually after about 72 hours, one of the best ways to do that is through forensic entomology. What that is, we'll have experts in the area of insect science who are able to take samples, either that we collect or that they collect themselves, and then are able to determine different things like what species of insects colonize the remains, and then using very well-established standards for how long these insects take to basically get them interval, I believe is what we call it. Which is just the earliest possible time that the remains could have been colonized by insects. So obviously we know she wasn't colonized when she was alive. That would have happened after she died. So in this case, we collected a sample of maggots that were on her legs and then submitted them to a scientist at Georgia Southern University for study.
I apologize. Can you please describe to the jury what you had to do?
So we were given many tools to work with in the crime scene program. Nobody gave me a maggot collection device, so unfortunately I just used a gloved hand to collect a representative sample of the maggots and then placed them inside of a plastic case, sealed them inside of a glove, and then we were able to preserve that sample later on for study.
While you were collecting this sample, were you, without telling us what was said, were you speaking to anyone?
I did contact, my training in forensic entomology came from Dr. Edward Mondor at Georgia Southern University, who's, to my knowledge, is the only practicing forensic entomologist in Georgia. And I've had a workshop with him and trained under him specifically. I was able to contact him, and subsequently I was able to collect and preserve, or we were able to collect and preserve as a team a sample of a maggot from the leg.
And in that collection process, did you discuss that with Dr. Mondor as you were doing it in real time?
No, he explained to me the process is actually very simple. It's not a complicated process to preserve maggots for study in this manner. It's distasteful again, but we take the representative sample of the maggots and then we pour boiling water over them. This kills them and essentially freezes them in place in time. We document that date and time and the conditions that were surrounding the collection. And then after the maggots are dead, we can pour that water off and then preserve them in alcohol. And then once they're preserved, they last pretty much indefinitely.
And that procedure, was that discussed with Dr. Mondor to ensure that you were complying with what was required on his end?
That's correct.
Okay. And did you follow those instructions?
Yes.
And as a team?
I did not myself, but as a team we did.
Okay. So there were other people that assisted?
Correct.
Okay. But you're the one that actually did the collecting?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were those preserved beyond Dr. Mondor? Meaning after, let me back up, withdrawn. Did you provide them to anyone after you collected them?
I collected the sample at the scene, and at the time, Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Lindsay Smith of our office responded. I met her, passed the sample off to her, and she was able to subsequently perform that procedure to make sure that they were preserved.
So she boiled them?
She did.
Yes. And then did you receive them back from her?
I did. They were logged into evidence, and I eventually hand-delivered them to Dr. Mondor and passed them off to him so he could conduct his study.
Did you receive them back from Dr. Mondor after he completed his study?
I did.
And did those get preserved for trial in court here today?
They did.
Are they here with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm now showing slide number 32. We can turn the monitors back on. Can you tell us what's depicted in slide number 32?
This is a small strip of gray plastic, and it was located along a path. It should be noted that the left leg, when we found it, was not just, nobody just pushed their way through brush, but it was actually like a game path or an animal path that was already there. Again, I've hunted for many years, and I recognize where deer walk through the woods, and this was something that was already there. The leg was discarded along this path. In between the leg and the road, it was only a short distance, and this strip of plastic was found there, and it looked, to me, a lot like the plastic strip that was included in the drawstring of a plastic bag, such as the one we found at the original crime scene.
And that would have been where the corner of the roadway by where the torso intersected with Jones Road?
Yes, ma'am. That was a black plastic bag that had the clothing and the cleaning wipes in it. It had a similar drawstring strip in it.
Okay. But you didn't find a second bag, did you?
No, ma'am.
Now I'm going to slide number 33. Did you insert some of these slides to assist yourself in your testimony here today?
I did.
And I'm now going to slide number 34. Can you tell the jury what's depicted in slide number 34?
This is looking south on Jones Road. You should be able to see, I believe, the pumping station for a local water municipality. They're kind of close to the top.
You referring to up there, sir?
Correct. And behind the camera, so to speak, or behind the camera's point of view would be the original crime scene, the intersection of Hunting Road and Jones Road. So the first drone shot that you saw, the very first one that looked north that showed the Hunting Club Road, this would be basically the mirror image of this would be the
opposite direction?
Correct.
Okay. And so, how far approximately is that pumping station or the building from where the intersecting road was, approximately?
It has been measured much more precisely than this, I guess, half a mile or so, not far.
So that car is rather withdrawn. The pumping station that was down there, you would drive down this roadway to get to where the road cut for the torso?
If you came in from that direction, you have to pass it.
Okay. I'm now going to slide number 35. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
That's a gray plastic storage container. A lot of people call them totes.
Okay. Would you call them rubberized tubs too?
Sure.
Okay. And this particular tub, where did you see it first?
So this was also a cadaver dog team find. The team was walking along the path here, and one of the dogs pulled them off the road into the edge of the wood line, and they discovered this, looked inside, and decided to contact us to respond to the area, and we did.
And did you photograph that?
I did.
Had that been moved, or was it, do you recall where that was originally observed?
This particular item of evidence was where it was found. This is depicted as it was located.
That's where you ultimately saw it?
Correct.
Okay. But there were other people there before you meaning the cadaver dog team, correct?
Right.
Okay. And the next photograph, that being slide number 36, can you tell us what's there?
That's just a little bit more close-up shot, same tub, walking up to it. It wasn't very far off the side of the roadway, so this would have only just been a couple of steps off the side of the road.
Okay. Did there come a time when you did anything with respect to this tub?
So when we looked inside the tub did have an amount of water in the bottom, a couple of inches. There were some leaves and other debris inside. However, there was a reddish-brown substance that was kind of stuck to the side or adhered to the insides, the edge of the tub, and it appeared to be blood, so we decided to test it with a field test kit.
So I'm going to now show you slide number 37. Would that be a view inside the tub of what you just described?
It is.
And specifically, I'm referring to the interior portion of that tub. Can you see that?
I do.
And is that what you were just describing to the jury?
It is.
And did you do anything with respect to what you observed inside of that tub?
Well, again, because we don't have opportunities to go back and preserve evidence or collect evidence that we may have gotten, we decided to pour the water off that was inside the tub and go ahead and let it dry a little bit. But we poured the water out through some filter paper and collected that filter paper and some paper towels with it, and then collected the filter paper and towels as evidence.
Why would you do that?
Well, I can't store that water, would take a long time to dry. And again, once you let water and evidence sit together, you start having problems with mold and mildew, and then you start having potential damage to DNA evidence. And we tried to preserve the evidence, you have to dry it.
So by pouring it through the filter paper, what were you hoping to accomplish?
Just in case there was any trace evidence or anything inside the container that could be analyzed later in the lab, we decided to err on the side of caution and filter the water through first.
Okay. And did you take any swabs with respect to this tub?
We did. We took a swab of the inside that had reddish-brown stains on the inside and exposed it to a phenolphthalein test kit.
Now, you have said we several times. When you say we...
My apologies, I.
Okay, so it was you that was doing these processes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And did you, in fact, at some point, do a blood presumptive test, the phenolphthalein test that you referred to?
I did. I also did an ABTI test.
Okay. I'm now showing you slide number 38. What does that show?
The test kit on the right there is phenolphthalein. And again, it's showing a positive result there for blood in the mixture of the sample that we collected. And on the left, there's a ABTI test strip that's also showing a positive result for human blood.
And that boot print, just so we're sure?
That's either myself or one of the respondents. This area had been rained on heavily. There was no chance of there being footwear impressions left with the amount of rainfall that had been in that area, not in dirt.
Just wanted to make sure that we were being clear for the jury. Those potentially are your footprints or one of the other officers.
Right.
Okay. And so that was not in some way evidence in connection with this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm now going to ask you, each of the blood tests that you referred to, that being the first series of tests that you took.
Because again, those are just guys. We're going to have follow-up testing in the lab later on to let us know definitively what is in that tub, what's not.
So when you say the ones that were not preserved, you're talking about the one that's inside of this little packet, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. And were there additional swabs taken and made available ultimately to the crime laboratory? Or was it the actual tub itself?
In this case, both of the tubs that were recovered were conveyed to the crime lab testing.
Okay, so they had the ability to take the actual tub itself for additional testing?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm now going back to slide 39. Would that be the end of your collection at that location?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see here in slide number 40?
So one of the partners that we had working with us that day was the Department of Natural Resources game warden who handled what's called an article dog. Article dogs detect items with human scent in places where human scent is not supposed to be. So Give you an example, when I first met this particular dog handler, I asked him how his dog worked, and he had me throw my pocket knife into the woods, and the dog found it just a few minutes later. So the dog can detect human scent. In this case, we conducted another search of the original crime scene just to make sure there wasn't any other pieces of items of evidence we could have missed. And the canine identified some torn pieces of clothing that were behind where that original plastic bag was located at the crime scene. And so we went ahead and collected those pieces of cloth and preserved them.
Were there any lids recovered with these tubs?
So I was not present for the collection or the recovery of the lid. However, there was a lid recovered.
Okay. And was that preserved?
It was.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm clear, though. You did not actually process it, right?
No, ma'am, it was packaged and taken to the crime lab for processing.
Okay. So, before I move forward, I'm going to show you what I have marked as 1.1A through 1.1TT. These have been previously shown to council. Your Honor, may I approach this? I'm handing you a stack of photographs. I'd like you to just take a look at them.
Yes, ma'am. Have a look at it.
Okay. Do you recognize what's in those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Barring the image like the one that you see right now in slide number 41, are those a fair and accurate duplication in a actual photograph form of what is on that PowerPoint in 1.1 in evidence?
Yes, ma'am. These are digital physical prints of the digital photographs.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would seek to introduce them so that they may be available to the jury subsequently if needed.
No objection. They are admitted.
Your Honor, I'd like to just publish them in their entirety to the panel.
That's fine.
Thank you. Agent Dickerson, after you finished on December 5th, 2022, did you in any way facilitate another crime scene location?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go?
311 East 65th Street in Savannah.
Why did you go to that location?
Well, at that point, Mindi had been identified, and further investigation revealed that she and Nicholas had lived at this address for a period of time during the window in which she would have died.
Okay. Do you, if you know, do you know what their arrangements for the living conditions were at that location?
The residence was being utilized through Airbnb as a rental.
Okay. And when they rented at that location, did you know at the time you went to the crime scene who resided at that location?
It did not.
Okay. Can you tell the jury just a general description of what that location looked like?
Sure, it was a single-story residence in a neighborhood full of similar homes. Not a big residence, it was about, I'd have to look at the square footage on my notes, but there were 2 bedrooms, 2 dens, and a kitchen, and I believe 2 bathrooms. There was a nice backyard that was enclosed, shaded with trees. There was a shed in the backyard, and the backyard butted up to an alley that ran through for trash collection.
Okay. And when you went to that location, how did you gain access?
We spoke with the owner of the residence and obtained their consent, her consent to search the residence and treat it as a crime scene.
So you were permitted to go there?
Correct, yes, ma'am.
And at the time that you went there in May, did Mr. Kassotis reside there anymore?
No, ma'am.
So at that time, the person that owned the residence was responsible for that location?
Correct.
Okay, so you got permission from them to go in?
We did.
And they granted that?
They did.
Okay. Do you take a signed document to ensure that you have some proof that that was the case?
So, yes, we do have a form that's just used for consent search whenever we try to obtain that during the course of the investigation. I was not the agent who actually obtained that permission, but that is a standard practice.
Okay. And so when you enter the residence, can you tell the jury how you handle a physical crime scene like a residence any differently than perhaps the woods?
Well, this is a very unusual crime scene because normally when we were responding to something, this is to an incident that just occurred. In this case, we weren't sure exactly when this crime was going to be. We had an idea at the time, a time range, if you will, but there had been a significant amount of time, months, had passed between when this crime had potentially occurred, and we weren't even sure it had occurred there. So we were going through to search this house, not really knowing 100% what we were looking for or if we found anything.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that there had been other residents inside of that dwelling in between December of 2022, and when you got there in May of 2023?
Yes, ma'am. So with the residence being treated as an Airbnb, there were people being moved through the residence from time to time. I don't have records, don't have access to those, have not had access to those during the course of my portion of the investigation. But as you can imagine, there were other people who come inside and out of the house.
So at that point, how did that impact what you did?
Well, as far as contamination goes, we pretty much treat this as a scene as, again, we're not 100% sure what we're looking for. To a certain extent, you just got to use common sense. We know that many of you received some pretty serious injuries, as horrible as you can imagine. You saw the photographs, and we had to look for signs that may have occurred there. So the easiest thing to look for at that point was for blood.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury how you would go about finding blood that may have been left behind?
So, again, some of the tests that you saw, I described seeing physical stain, like a reddish brown substance, clinging to the side of the container, or maybe on a piece of cloth. When we look for blood that's not visible, we look for blood that may have been cleaned up, or maybe was deposited in minuscule amounts that's just not visible to the naked eye. We do have some chemical processes that we can employ to look for those and try to identify those stains where they are. The one that we chose to use in this case was called Blue Star. Now, you heard me talk about Blue Star OBTI. That's a presumptive test for human blood, but Blue Star is a product. They make several different products, and this particular one that we used is just Blue Star. It contains a chemical called luminol. You may have heard of it before. Luminol and Blue Star both, in the presence of hydrogen peroxide, come into contact with blood and cause that blood to glow. So it's not like on TV where you may have seen a crime scene investigator go into a house and shine a black light around and see blood starts glowing. That's not what happens. Blood doesn't glow under an alternate light source. In this case, we can use the blood, mix it according to manufacturer's specifications, and then spray it in a fine mist. And anywhere that mist falls where blood is at a detectable level, it's pretty sensitive stuff. If I remember correctly, it's about 10 parts per million that it can detect. And what it does is that blue glow that I'm describing is called chemoluminescence. It's the same way that fireflies or glow sticks emit light. It's not a chemical process that emits much heat, but it does emit a faint glow. So one of the things we have to do when we employ that chemical is we have to make sure the residence is very dark. So one of the things, again, that we had to do to prepare to even spray the chemical was to go around and cover all the doors and windows with black plastic. We unplugged microwaves and taped over LED lights and things and made sure that the residence was as dark as we could get it. And moved all of our camera equipment inside, and then began searching the house using Blue Star to look for stains that could potentially be blood.
Okay. Now, just so that we can start with some visuals, I'm going to go to slide number 42. Can you tell us what's depicted here?
This is another drone photograph. This is from directly over the residence. The residence in this case that was 311 is going to be the third from the left.
Okay, that'd be fair to say that it's the one underneath the biggest tree on the left side of the photograph?
Right, most of the backyard was shaded.
Okay, and so that's the overhead of that house?
Right.
How far apart were those other houses from this house?
They were pretty close. I'm not sure you could park two cars in between the houses, so they were packed pretty tight.
Okay, and I'm now going to the next screen, 43. Would that be the distance between if you're facing the house, the left side of the house, and the house closest to it?
Right, this depicts the left side of the house if you're facing it from the roadway, and it's right in the center of the photograph.
Okay, and can you also see there where there's the pathway to the right of the house? I'm referring to, and I'm zooming in, right over here.
Right, so there was a concrete walkway from the road, from the sidewalk to the front stoop of the house.
I'm now going to slide number 44. Can you tell us, how did you gain access to enter the house? What was involved with getting into the house?
So we met, I believe, her name We obtained permission from the owner of the residence, and she allowed
I'm
us.
gonna stop you, I need to clarify my question. I need to physically walk into the house, how do you get in?
Through the front door.
I know, are there any steps?
There are.
Okay, can you describe that for the jury?
Sure, so there's a concrete walkway from the sidewalk to the front of the house. There's a iron railing and our metal railing and a front stoop there, and then the front door.
Okay, so you'd have to go up those couple of steps, either holding on the left or right railing if you chose to then make that right, I guess, into that front door?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm now going to slide number 45. What's depicted here?
This is the bedroom on the southwest corner, excuse me, apologies, not bedroom. This is the den area, living room on the southwest corner of the house.
Okay, and are there any light sources inside of this room that had to be covered in order to be able to conduct the Blue Star?
Yes, ma'am. The doors there leading out to the back porch, the back deck, and then the window, and also on the opposite side of the room is the kitchen. So there was kitchen windows that needed to be covered as well.
Okay, and inside of this room, was there ultimately anything of significance to your investigation?
Yes, ma'am. We started searching for the Blue Star. One of the first things that we saw that gave us a positive reaction was the blue futon there, the cushion on the rear of it.
I'm just going to ask you once again, you said they. Are you referring to yourself or to someone else?
I am. I had help, assistance. Again, this is a fairly major undertaking to put up all the plastic and everything, so I had help from my team and additional agents come in and help me prepare, and then stood by and helped me observe while I applied the chemical.
Okay, so were they assisting at your direction?
They were.
Okay, and were they in your presence the entire time?
They were.
Okay. When you say they assisted, did all of you then ultimately put up these tarps or obstructions to the light sources?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was there anything in this room that became noteworthy after you applied Blue Star?
Yes, ma'am. After I applied the Blue Star, there were a couple of things. One, and the most obvious, was the blue futon there, the couch with the cover over it. The top of the couches were facing there on the left-hand side, had a significant reddish-brown stain on them. That actually, once we discovered that using the Blue Star, flipped the light back on and saw that it was actually visible to the naked eye.
Is that the catch you're referring to there that I've kind of zoomed in on?
It is.
Okay. And did you then ultimately have the opportunity to capture photographs of the Blue Star reaction on this futon?
I did.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury, is it always possible to capture a Blue Star reaction?
So, no, the way Blue Star works is it causes a reaction that is basically transient. That energy that's being released in the form of light, once that reaction is over with, that catalyst occurs, it only lasts so long. So, and because some of the sample is actually consumed as part of that testing, it's something that you can't just do over and over and over again and expect the same results. So, and usually there's at least 3 applications that are involved in the recovery and documentation of any stain that we found with Blue Star. And it's the first one that we use to identify it, and that's when it first glows and go, okay, well, there's a possibility there's a stain there. Then we'll set up camera equipment and we'll try to go ahead and measure and capture that. Then usually the third to make sure that we get a good photograph. But that's not always possible. It depends a lot on the substrate or the material that the chemicals actually come into contact with and what the blood is actually sitting on or in, and then how much has actually been deposited there.
Okay. So in this case, meaning with the futon, you were able to capture?
Yes.
Okay. I'm now going to show you slide number 46. Can you tell us what that is?
So that is what Blue Star basically looks like in the dark. You spray something that makes it react, usually blood.
And what is depicted in that image, in slide 46?
That is the stains we observed on the rear of the futon.
Okay. I'm now going to slide number 47, and I'm asking you, can you tell us what is depicted on the area that I've zoomed in on?
So that's the same area of the futon, and again, you can see that reddish-brown stain there on top of it.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that's the naked eye as opposed to Blue Star?
Yes, that was visible, with or without Blue Star being applied.
Okay. And now looking at slide number 48, what do you have depicted there?
That's the same stain. We just pulled the futon down. That futon, the stain would have been in an upright position on the back side of the futon. So we basically just folded that cushion over and then applied a scale there to give you an idea what size the stain was used.
So I'm looking at slide number 49, is that what you're describing?
That's correct.
Okay, so would it be fair then to say, where is that stain located on that mattress? Or futon seating area?
As it was oriented when we found it, and keep in mind that, of course, the futon mattress can be placed in pretty much any configuration you want it. That stain would have been on toward the wall, there where that metal portion of it is standing up against the wall.
Okay. Do you have any idea if that futon mattress had been moved?
No, I have no idea. It was, as you saw it in the first photographs, is how we found it.
So I'm going back to slide number 45. Is that what you're referring to?
Correct.
And so, but you don't have any way of knowing if since December of 2022, that had been reoriented or moved in any way?
I have no idea.
Okay. So you just documented what you found?
Correct.
Okay. So when you see this stain, you said you took a measurement of the scale and the range, is that correct, that the stain spread?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you slide number 50. What did you do here?
So again, these are field tests, the same as we used before, as phenylalanine and also the OBTI test. Phenylalanine returned a positive result for blood. The OBTI test returned a positive result for human blood.
Okay. Is that same stain that you were referring to?
Right. In this case, we used a sterile razor blade just to cut a small sample of the cloth away and test the cloth itself.
Okay. And why did you do that?
It's easier and more accurate than trying to resaturate a stain using distilled water or something like that. The normal, if we found a dry sample or a dry stain somewhere that we want to sample, we use what's called a wet dry technique, where we use 2 swabs, wet one with distilled water, and use it, and then collect another with dry, and then use both of them in the test. And in this case, it was just as easy to cut a small section of the stain away and test it.
So you put the actual cloth into your testing sample?
Correct.
Okay. And with respect to the phenolphthalein, did you do any other testing?
We did the phenolphthalein test, and we also did the OBTI test to determine if it was human blood or not. And that test returned a positive result for human blood.
And with respect to blood testing, and if this is outside of your area, please just tell me, can you tell when a stain of blood happened?
No.
Why not?
Well, the blood could have been placed there at any time. I have no way of telling when it was there. In fact, Blue Star can be used to recover, in an archaeological sense, can be used to actually identify blood on ancient remains.
So you just know that there was blood, you don't know when it was deposited?
Correct.
Okay. Now looking at slide number 51, what's depicted here?
So we decided to collect the stain itself from the mattress just by cutting it away. So we took the stained section away, packaged it as evidence, and then noticed that the batting or the material, the padding underneath, had actually been saturated with what appeared to be blood as well, so we decided to take a sample with it too.
Okay. And is that what's depicted in this photograph?
Correct.
I'm now showing you slide number 52. Can you tell the jury what is on the floor there that I am showing?
Right. So as part of the search process, like I said before, there's usually an application done, Blue Star, to identify where stains are. Once we identify a good location where we feel like there may be some stains, we'll mark that location. At this point, we use some black tape and just marked the outlines of stains on the floor in the general area. And then went back, set up our photograph equipment. Because again, you only get so many bites of the apple. You want to make sure that you get photographs as best you can, if you can. And so in this case we did, we were able to take this photograph, and the way this photograph was taken was a very long exposure. Most of the time, if you hear a camera click, the shutter only stays open for just a moment. In this case, the camera was placed on a tripod, and the shutter was allowed to stay open for a very long time, almost a minute, I believe, in this particular exposure. And then at the very end, I had a flash that I aimed at the ceiling, the light went up, bounced out, and then illuminated the rest of the room. So you can see both the blue star staying there on the floor as well as its context with the furniture on the floor.
Okay. Now, where was this stain located in relationship to the, I'll go back to slide number 45, the rug that you see in this room?
So we sprayed the rug, and we didn't get a reaction from it. So in order to check underneath it, we moved it and then sprayed again, and that's when we found those stains on the floor.
So the rug didn't fluoresce?
It did not.
But what was under it did?
That's correct.
Did you notice anything about the pattern that the
We
stain?
looked at it, there were grooves in it, and this blood was not visible to the naked eye at all. So the blood that you're seeing there that's fluorescent that's causing that stain is actually from blood that's down in the grooves of the floor.
So when you pulled the rug up first, you couldn't see that stain with your naked eye?
Not at all.
And you only saw it when the fluorescing occurred?
That's correct.
Showing you slide number 53. What's depicted there?
This is the same area of flooring with the light turned off and just the chemoluminescence depicted in the photograph.
Was there anything that drew your attention as a crime scene specialist with respect to the pattern of that stain?
Ma'am, in my opinion, particularly on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see where there's a strong reaction. Probably yes, ma'am. There in the center of the screen, there's the brightest reaction. You see how it tails off to the right, to the bottom of the photograph. That, in my opinion, appears to be a wipe. A wipe is where we have blood that's been deposited on the surface and then something moves through it. As opposed to a swipe, which would be where something bloody comes into contact with the surface and then deposits blood on it. So what we can tell from this is there was a bloodletting event that occurred in this home at some point, and it appears that it's been wiped through.
And with respect to that, the grooves, can you see them in this pattern?
Yes,
This-
ma'am. They move from left to right in the photograph.
And when you say from left to right, would that be from left to the right in the photograph itself?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you refer to the swipe, is that the correct terminology?
Wipe.
Wipe, my apologies. When you refer to the wipe, are you referring to this section at the lower right-hand portion right here? I'm going to zoom in on it specifically.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be a downward motion, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Across the grain, so to speak.
So it was across the grain. Would blood normally move in that fashion on its own?
No, ma'am, I can't.
Speculation.
If he can testify as an expert in rendering
He's
this.
been qualified as an expert, so
I can't honestly think of a way that the blood could have gotten into the grooves of the floor without also being on top of the floor. I mean, I suppose you could get a syringe with a tiny needle and put diluted blood in there and then get down on your hands and knees and insert blood into the grooves of the floor and make that pattern. But it would be kind of ridiculous. I mean, that's the only other way I can think of.
Okay. Can we turn, please? Now, Your Honor, I'm about to move to the physical evidence. Do you want to do a comfort break now, or would you like me to keep going?
we can do that. We'll take 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
Sure as out wherever it says.
Thank you.
Please be seated.
Mr. Taylor, you may continue.
Thank you. Now, Agent Dickerson, you indicated just before we broke that you saw those images of the floor underneath the carpet, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I observed that.
Okay. Did you do anything with respect to those images other than just photograph them? That space under the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do?
So much like they lean in some of the other tests I talked to you today about field testing, Blue Star is in and of itself considered a field test. So if we see a blue glow like that, we can safely presume that that sample may be blood. So we went ahead and collected swabs of several areas. We did talk about collecting the futon cover, but also swabbed the floor in several areas. There was also a small spot on the wall.
Okay, talk to us about what you saw on the wall.
Okay, so on the wall above, where the futon bag was located in that first photograph you saw, there was an arc-shaped stain on the wall. It was extremely faint. It was very, very hard to see. You had to be almost on top of it even with naked eye to see it. And after that first application of Blue Star, really couldn't tell much more about it. The wall was a painted surface, so it wasn't very porous. There was nowhere for the blood to really soak in, so to speak. And with that small of a sample, my conclusion that I felt reasonable to draw was that that first test had actually consumed what visible blood there would have been on the wall. We did swab that area though and make sure to take a sample for the lab.
Okay.
I just wasn't able to photograph it.
Okay, so earlier you testified that sometimes with Blue Star you can or can't capture a photograph. With respect to the area behind the futon, were you able to actually capture a photograph?
Not of the wall behind the futon.
So, okay, and was there anything about what you saw when it was first fluorescing that drew it to be of interest to you?
It was just so because there was the shape of the stain was determined by that chemoluminescence, that glow. The glowing area is how you could see again that arc shape that I described on the wall. It was just a couple of inches wide, probably about this long on the wall.
So I'm just going to ask you to clarify for the record. You did some gesture with your hands. How wide were you talking about?
A little over a foot.
Okay.
And again, it was a couple of inches in thickness from top to bottom, and it was kind of an arcing shape across the wall.
Okay, and you're making a gesture with your hand in an arcing movement, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what you believed had occurred? If you could draw an opinion.
It's very difficult to say, but considering that the Blue Star returned a positive result, and then we were able to test that later on in the laboratory, there's a possibility that it could have been cleaned up.
Okay. And so, but that you were not able to document it in photograph, just what you made observations of?
Correct.
Okay. Now, with respect to this case, just before I move on completely, you previously testified, I just want to introduce these into evidence. Your Honor, may I approach the witness with what I've pre-marked as 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4, which I've previously shown counsel. Do you recognize these three?
Yes, ma'am. These are the two sketches in the legend to the sketch.
Okay.
For
When
the
you say
first scene,
from the first
where the
scene.
torso was found.
Okay. And when you say a legend, can you tell us what you mean by that?
So a legend is like a key to read a map. This is just a list of which pieces of evidence were associated with which placard number for reference purposes.
Your Honor, this time I would seek to introduce these exhibits 1.2, 3, and 4.
Any objection? No objection. Fine, there is objection.
May I just display 1.3? I'm going to go old school here. Is this the legend you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're publishing to the jury. What specifically are those numbers on this legend that you're referring to?
The numbers on the left-hand side represent the placard numbers that were used at the scene to denote the different pieces of evidence located.
Okay, and having noted those, are those the placard numbers that you testified to earlier concerning where the totes and the other various items were recovered by the gate at Jones Road?
Correct.
Thank you. Now, Agent Dickerson, after you processed each of these crime scenes, what happens to the physical evidence that you recovered?
So the evidence comes back with me to the Region 5 field office. We have an evidence processing area there, so you heard me talk earlier about the items that were wet that needed to be preserved. We were able to, or I was able to place those into the drying cabinet to be preserved, dried, so it could be properly packaged. And then the other items that were ready to be packaged, I went ahead and packaged those. And to be entered into our digital evidence system, each item of evidence is assigned a barcode number. And that barcode number is then used to track evidence through the system so we can determine chain of custody later on, just to make sure there's a record.
Does every single item that's recovered get its own unique barcode?
Not every single item, but generally speaking, we tend to group like items together. Now, I wouldn't take something that I found in one area and something that I found in another disparate area somewhere else and put them in the same bag. But, you know, all the cleaning wipes, for example, they were packaged, many of them were packaged together in the same bags. They were found in the same location beside the road, and they were the same item. So,
If it's a unique item, does it get its own number?
yes.
Okay. And if it was found, for example, at the Savannah location versus the Torso location, you would have then issued different numbers?
Correct. Nothing between scenes would be packaged together.
Okay. And was that the case here as well?
That's correct.
Okay. And were you the one that handled the coding and submission of those numbers and affixing of the barcodes?
I handled the coding and the packaging, the entry into the digital evidence system, and then the evidence submission forms and to be turned over to the crime lab along with the evidence for testing would be something the case agent would generally handle.
Okay. So at some point, do you pass it off to someone?
Yes, ma'am.
Who would that be?
Agents Tracy Sands, case
Okay.
agent.
And why was it him that it would go to?
Well, because being the case agent, he's privy to other information that would help us determine or make decisions about what evidence needs to go, what particular items of evidence need to go to which sections of the lab, and then the lab has their own order for things and which order they need to be processed. So, with him having conducted interviews with people during the course of the investigation, you have more information about it than I would as just the crime scene specialist.
Okay. So he would ultimately be the one to make those determinations?
Again, it's kind of like the quarterback calling the play. He'd be the one to make that determination.
Okay. Now, the items that you ultimately processed back at Region 5, did you ultimately submit them to the crime laboratory for analysis? Some of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We're going to talk about some of those here today. Did you bring them with you physically to court for you to display them?
I did.
Okay. I'm going to note, Your Honor, that there are some gloves up on the stand. Please, I hope they're the right size. You could just take a look. I'm going to start with the two totes. Are those present here in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can we start with first the black tote? If you can just tell us which box and number that would bear.
This is the box, it's got the black tote in it, and it's got a barcode number CC00792.
And would it be you that affixed that box number or code number on that?
I was.
Okay. And do you recognize that box and that barcode number?
I do.
Is that something that you packaged and processed yourself?
I did.
And is it in the same or substantially the same condition as when you initially processed it, barring, of course, any additional stickers maybe from the crime laboratory?
Right, so this, both of these boxes went to the crime lab, black tote in particular, it went to the crime lab, it was opened and then processed there and then resealed within the same package.
Would the crime laboratory do anything with respect to those exhibits after they finish their testing to reseal it, is what I'm referring to.
Correct, so some of this tape, on the front end of things, we generally use red evidence tape. The crown evidence is where they use different colors for the tape as the item they move through different areas of the crown lead. So you'll see some different colors on here. You see where the impressions of evidence sealed this part of the box with white tape as opposed to the red tape that I use.
And that would be the prime lots tape?
Correct.
Okay. And your tape then would be the red tape, is that correct?
That's right.
And inside of that box would be what item?
This is the black tote that was found in the location where Mindy's torso was recovered. Right there on the southwest corner of the intersection of the first time. And this was recovered the very first night.
I'm now pulling up slide 1.1D from the exhibits. I'm going to show this to the witness. Is this in fact the same tote, Your Honor, may I publish this to the jury? Is this the same tote that is inside of that box that we're referring to right now?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would like to have this exhibit marked as 1.5, if that's okay. Has this box been opened by you since it was submitted to the crime laboratory?
No, ma'am.
And so the contents of that box were processed by them after you?
Correct.
Okay. At this point, Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness to, I'm going to ask you to introduce this into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor. May I have your position to see him over that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's submitted without objection. 1.5.
At this time, Your Honor, I'm going to ask the witness to open the box.
Okay, go ahead.
You all see it again?
Your Honor, I would ask the jury for permission to stand if they need to.
Your Honor, may I have the pipeline to your position here? Thank you.
Is that the tote that was recovered on December 2nd of 2022 at the Riceboro Portal Hunting Club?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know that?
It's similar in appearance, I also recall the crack here in the bottom. Still got a piece of time from it. Yes, ma'am, that's the crown lab.
Okay. And can you tell the jury, what type of a tote is that? Are there any markings on it?
Yes, ma'am. So this is manufactured by the brand name Husky. It's a 25-gallon latch and stack tote. Through our investigation, they're available on Depot.
Okay. And specifically, that tote, did you provide it to the crime laboratory in that box?
I did. We actually don't have boxes quite this big, standard. So I had to go to Lowe's and get a large box, a couple of large boxes, so we were able to fit something, or fit evidence inside.
Okay. And ultimately, that was what you brought to the crime laboratory for them to analyze?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if you could, can you just turn that on its side for just a moment? Was that the larger or the smaller of the two totes?
This was the smaller of the two.
Okay. And that was the one that was found near what portion of her remains?
This container was discovered where, near the location where Mindy's torso was found.
Okay. And you can put that back. You had one handle, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you find a second handle?
I had to look at the photographs to, right off.
Okay.
believe it's just the one handle.
Okay, and so if there had been more than one, would you have included both when you submitted it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you submitted it in the condition you found it?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're done with that, you can place that away, thank you so much. Now, there's a second box. What is inside of that box, sir?
This could be the gray tube that was discovered by the cadaverals on the side of the road. It wasn't too far away from where the explosive was found. It was actually on the Jones Road instead of on a private plane.
Okay, and Your Honor, I'm going to ask this to be marked as 1.6, if that's permissible.
Yes, ma'am.
Does this have a specific identifying barcode that was associated with that exhibit from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation?
Yes, ma'am, it's CC00806.
And do you recognize that box?
Yes, ma'am, this is the box that actually gray tube.
Okay, and is it in the same or substantially the same condition, minus, of course, the crime scene laboratory, or rather the crime laboratory tape?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm going to seek to introduce 1.6 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Submitted.
If we can open that box, please. You also have two items right there. Do you recognize that item?
Yes, this is the two, these are the two handles.
Okay, and where was that item located?
This was found about a half mile or so from the road where Mindy's torso was discovered, back south from the original location.
And where was that in proximity to her leg?
Would have been west,
How far approximately?
I don't know, give or take.
So that was that,
Talking about as the crow flies or as you drive.
right. And would it be fair to say that there's only a few roads physically over there
Right.
and more as the crow flies? Okay. That toad itself, what type of toad is that, size and type? Can you look on the front of that?
So this is Sterilite, 34 gallon.
Okay. And that toad is gray in color, is that correct?
Is
Okay. That was in fact the same toad that you processed on the day of which, December 5th of
It was
2022?
found December 5th, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it does appear to be the same toad.
Okay. Are those the two toads, that being 1.5 and 1.6, that you did swabbings on, that we saw the photographs of?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And thank you, we're finished with those. Now I'm going to point your attention to CC 00808, the lid of the gray toad. Did you process that lid?
I did not.
You did not, okay. Do you know who did?
This toad was tote lid rather was collected, turned over to me, and then it was subsequently submitted to the crime lab.
Do you know who submitted it to the crime laboratory?
We submitted it as part of our evidence submission process.
And when you say we, who are you referring to?
Investigative team, which is the head of Agent Sands.
Okay, so that tote itself, do you know, the lid itself, do you know who actually put it into that bag?
I did.
You did, okay. So somebody gave it to you and ultimately you processed it, you simply didn't recover it, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and would it be fair to say that you had an opportunity to look at that lid in conjunction with the item that is in evidence as 1.6?
Yes, ma'am. However, I did not place two things together because they were found in different areas. We want to avoid cross-contamination, so they were packaged separately and processed separately.
So do you have any idea if that lid actually fits on that tote?
I do not. I'm assuming that it is approximately the same size, but that would be an assumption until I try it.
Okay, can you please, at this time, I'd like to mark this as 1.7, that being the tote lid. Do you recognize the barcode on that? Don't open it just yet, please.
Sure.
Do you recognize the barcode on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was CC00808?
Correct.
Your Honor, I'd like to mark this as 1.7. Is that exhibit in the same or substantially the same condition, excluding, of course, any crime laboratory tape that may be on it?
Yes.
And do you recognize that to be the same tote lid that you submitted to the crime laboratory in connection with this case? I say you, the GBI submitted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to tender 1.7.
And you don't objection, Your Honor.
It's submitted.
If we can open that tote lid, please. If you could remove that from the package. Your Honor, if that can be published.
Sure.
Is there anything that you noted about the condition of that lid that drew your attention in terms of its condition physically?
It's actually in pretty good shape.
Okay. Were there any cracks or wear on that?
None that I saw, and none that I see now.
Okay. And with respect to the handle areas on these totes, did you have an opportunity to look at them?
On the lid, I did not notice anything on the toes themselves, but I did notice some, what appeared to be some stress marks around the tote handles themselves.
What is a stress mark?
So it'd be a deformation of the plastic. When you have, say, a force put on that plastic that is greater than what it's designed to handle, then you might see a cracking, you might see a split, or if anybody's ever overloaded a tote before, storage tote, then you know what I'm talking about. But the handle showed some stress, what appeared to me to be stress marks.
What would cause that, if you can say? You said overloaded. I'm asking, I guess, just to be more clear as to what you meant by that.
Well, if the tote had something heavy in it, that could have caused it, or if it had a force placed against it.
I think you actually lost a tag over here.
Yeah.
No. Thank you. Now, I believe, I apologize.
Go ahead.
I believe you testified earlier that you did swabbings on the toes, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. I swabbed the stains that were on the toes in order to test them, again, for the presumptive field test.
But you didn't do any other swabbings, that would have been the crime laboratory?
No, so again, the field tests help us to determine the course of the investigation, the decisions that we need to make while we're out there. But if we have an item of evidence that's small enough or portable enough that we can package it and take it with us and take it to the crime lab, we'd much rather have the crime lab look at it than us. They have far more capability to process a piece of evidence in a laboratory setting than I do beside the road.
Okay. And so with respect to the other items that you recovered, I'm going to turn your attention to the cleansing wipes. Do you have those here with you today?
I do.
How were those packaged?
So there's several packages that contain wipes.
Before you show them, and let's just go through what it is.
Sure.
And how many packages were there if you want to check?
Five different packages that contain cleaning wipes.
Okay, and with respect to the cleansing wipe from the knife handle that we've seen, did you package that by itself or with other items?
I packaged it separately. I removed it from the handle of the knife and packaged it separately.
Why did you do that?
Well, so again, we talked about stabilizing and preserving evidence as best we can. The chemicals that are in the cleaning wipe can be hazardous for things that we want to test for DNA later on. So the sooner we can remove that chemical from exposure to something that we want to test, the better. And so we went ahead and removed that in order to preserve any possibility of DNA evidence from the handle of the knife. Although it may have been a little late for it, but we decided to at least give it a shot.
Would it be fair to say that no matter the condition of the crime scene, you still follow protocol?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so even though this crime scene, you don't know how long it had been exposed before the body had been dumped, essentially, did you still follow that same protocol?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, with respect to, I'm going to go through these numbers, CC 00794. I'm talking specifically, which cleansing wipe was that one?
This was the wipe that was wrapped around the handle of the Milwaukee knife.
Okay, and is that exhibit, the material itself that it's packaged in, do you recognize that?
I do. This is the bag that I packaged it in.
Do you recognize your handwriting on that?
I do.
And at this time, I want to ask that this be marked as 1.8, Your Honor. May I approach? Does it indicate on that exhibit where you recovered that item?
Yes, ma'am. There's an electronic label that's generated as a result of this entry into our digital evidence system. There's also a handwritten label that I applied to the outside of the bag.
And at this time, I would seek to introduce, Your Honor, 1.8 into evidence.
Any objection? No objection. Submitted.
I'm now going to turn you to CC 00795.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is the clean wipe that was denoted by placard number 3.
Okay, and was that found in the same vicinity as the wipe that you just described from the knife?
Right. This would have been over basically in the same location with the black tote and the knife itself.
At this time, I'd like that to be marked as 1.9. Is that in the same or substantially the same condition as when you submitted it to the crime laboratory?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recognize your handwriting in that actual barcode?
I do.
I'd like to tender this exhibit, Your Honor.
Any objection? No objection. Submitted.
At this time, I'd like to turn your attention to exhibit number CC 00799. while you're there, 802 and 803. Do you recognize those three barcoded exhibits?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And what are those?
CC 00802 are the cleansing wipes recovered from the northwest corner of the intersection. These are some of the ones that would have been hanging from the tree.
Okay.
And then there were cleaning wipes that were marked by placard number 7. They're packaged with the barcode CC 00803. And the item marked with evidence property tag number CC 00799 contains cleaning wipes that I removed from the black plastic garbage bag that was marked by placard number 6 in the crime scene.
Okay. And at this time, Your Honor, I'd like to mark those as 1.10, 11, and 12 sequentially on 799, 802, and 803. Are those in substantially the same condition as when you put them in the packages initially?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize your handwriting on those
I do.
and the barcodes?
I do.
At this time, Your Honor, I would seek to tender exhibits 1 point, I believe it's
10, 11, and 12.
10, 11, and 12.
No objection,
They're all admitted.
Thank you. Now, when you put those wipes in there, would it be fair to say that they were already dry by then?
When I placed them inside those packages and sealed them, yes, ma'am, they were dry.
Okay. And so, only if you know, is it possible to determine if DNA is recoverable on that? Meaning, do you submit items of this nature for DNA analysis?
Not generally.
Why not?
It's been, there are some cleaning solutions that do damage or harm the potential for recovery of DNA from evidence.
Okay.
So we decided, because the crime lab's resources are finite, and we just don't have the ability to test every single thing that we pick up at a crime scene. We want to start with the most items of most probative value. So the cleaning wipes were packaged and preserved, but and submitted to the lab, but I don't believe they were tested for DNA.
Okay. If you had recovered DNA on another item, would that impact your decision of whether or not to test additional items?
It could.
Okay, how so?
Well, as I said, a lot of the answers to the question are it depends.
Okay.
So, if we were to find DNA on one item that was at one scene, we might want to test an item from another scene to determine if the same DNA was found. It just, again, it's determined by the necessity, the needs of the investigation.
Okay. And can you look at CC 00793? The box. Do you recognize that?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
This is the knife box package, the fixed blade knife that we found at the first crime scene.
Can you tell the jury what is a knife box?
It's just a box that's designed to hold knives. Obviously, they present a safety hazard, so we put them in boxes like these to make sure that other people who are handling them know there's a sharp object inside, but also to protect the evidence itself.
Okay. I'd like to mark that, Your Honor, as 1.13. Do you recognize the handwriting on that exhibit?
I do.
And whose handwriting is that?
That's mine.
Are there any additional tapes on that box from when you first processed it?
Yes, there are.
And whose would those be? If you can tell.
These would be from the lab.
Okay. Other than those tapes, is that in the same or substantially the same condition as when you processed it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Your Honor, I'm actually going to seek to tender this subject to connection, obviously, with the crime laboratory.
No objection.
All right, submit it.
Your Honor, in light of that, I would like for that box to be opened, please.
You can.
Can you publish that, please, Your Honor? If you can just remove that from the box, if that's possible. And is the sheath that was recovered from the crime scene also present on that exhibit?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long is the blade on that knife, if you can tell?
It's approximately 6 inches.
Okay, and does the sheath cover the entire blade?
It does if you put it on the right way.
Okay, and that means it would be seated all the way to basically the hilt of the knife, is that correct?
Correct. In that position, it covers the entire blade. If I were to take it, flip it over, and put it back on, it's not going to cover the base of the blade.
What way did you recover it?
I recovered it like this.
With the blade inserted basically upside down into the sheath?
Correct.
Thank you. And is that in fact the same knife that you recovered on December 2nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
I thank you. And just so it's clear that they are here and with us, did you ultimately process the bugs from her leg in a fashion that they could be preserved safely?
So I was not responsible for processing those. Special Agent Charge Lindsay Smith actually processed them.
Okay.
But yes, they were basically, for lack of a better term, rendered safe, preserved in alcohol and then sealed inside a bottle. And then Dr. Mondor, I believe, sealed them inside his own packaging.
Okay, but you brought them here to court today?
I did.
Okay, and I'd like to just mark that for the purposes of this witness, Your Honor, so we don't have to go out of sequence later, if that's okay. And that would be 1.14. Do you have that here with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what kind of a container is that in?
This is essentially a paint can that's unused, but it's sealed inside there. So.
Your Honor, I'd like to tender that subject to connection, obviously, from Dr. Mondor.
No objection, subject.
1.14 is submitted without objection.
Now, here in the courtroom, did you bring with you the clothing that you had recovered from the scene?
I did.
Okay, and I'm directing your attention to CC 00798. Would that bag contain all of that clothing that you recovered?
It did not contain all of the clothing from the scene. It contains the clothing that was recovered from within the black plastic bag that was found at the intersection near where Mindy's torso was found.
And which items would those be?
The clothing items that were removed from the black garbage bag include some underwear, a camisole top that's been either cut or torn in 2 pieces, and then a torn dark blue shirt that's long sleeved.
Okay. And that item that was in there as the camisole top, you said that that was cut, is that correct?
It appeared to be either cut or torn. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
But it was in two pieces?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And again, was there any clothing on any portions of the body?
No, ma'am.
I'd like to have
There
this
were not
marked.
on any of the portions that I was involved in the recovery of.
Okay. I'd like to have this marked as 1.15. Do you recall the condition that the underwear was in when you recovered it?
Yes, ma'am. They had some reddish brown stains on them, but they were also soiled, and they were either cut or torn as well.
Okay. And did you do anything with those clothing items? I know you said you used a drying rack. Were those also items that were placed in the drying rack?
Yes, ma'am. They had to be dried before they could be packaged properly.
Okay. And with respect to that series of items that are in there, is that the undergarment that was cut as well?
Yes, ma'am. The panties.
I'm referring to the underwear, yes,
The
the
underwear.
pants.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And specifically, could you tell or did you do any field testing at that time on those items?
No, ma'am. I felt at that point we had enough indication from the tests that we'd already done that we needed to limit the tests that we did to the clothing in order to preserve any additional evidence could be gained from the lab.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that sometimes you don't do any testing, you just send it off to the crime lab?
Yes, ma'am. We do testing on the front end to inform the course of our investigation. It helps us make investigative decisions about what we need to do next. But it's always going to be the best bet to send an item to the crime lab in order to have lab testing done.
And you did that in this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, at this time, do you recognize the handwriting on 1.15 as your own?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that in the same or substantially the same condition as when you submitted to the crime laboratory for analysis?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, I'd like to tender 1.15 into evidence.
No objection.
Now, ultimately, I'd like to go back for just a moment to the initial recovery of her remains. You indicated that you had to get down into the ditch, essentially, to recover her. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that put you close to her?
It did.
Can you explain to the jury what decomposition is?
Yes, ma'am. So I'm sure anybody who's driven down the road and smelled animals, been hit on the side of the road, has noticed the odor of decomposition before. Decomposition starts at death, and there are numerous different processes that I won't go into, but it basically involves the breakdown of the organic tissues of the body, and that's natural part of death.
Okay. And you indicated that there's a smell associated with that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it distinctive?
Yes, ma'am. Very.
Okay. Does that smell change depending on the stage of decomposition?
Yes, ma'am. Generally, it's less noticeable in the early stages. However, as it becomes more advanced, the smell becomes stronger.
Okay. And without being inappropriate, have you handled many decomposing human bodies?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with the different smells at the different stages of decomposition?
More than I want to be.
Are you able to advise this jury what the stage of the smell was in your experience?
So they don't have stages so much that I can define scientifically speaking. I can tell you that, and again, generally, the odor of decomposition is very mild to begin, and then as decomposition progresses and becomes more advanced, that odor becomes much more noticeable.
So in this case, portions of her remains were recovered on different days, correct?
Correct.
The torso, what piece was that?
And that was the first piece. Mindi's torso was the first part of her that was recovered.
Okay. And would you say that that was mild then, or an advanced smell?
It was mild.
Okay. So at that point, would that have made any difference to you in your assertions or your thoughts about your investigation?
Yes, ma'am. And generally speaking, the less advanced the state of decomposition we find remains in, the shorter the period of time we would consider them to have been either deceased or at least have been dumped there.
Okay. So as of December 2nd of 2022, the smell was not heavy?
It was not very strong, ma'am. The ditch was cool too, and generally temperature has a significant impact on decomposition rates as well. The cooler it is, usually the slower decomposition occurs. Same way your refrigerator keeps your food fresh.
Okay. And would the water, in this case, have affected her body in any way when you recovered her torso?
Yes, ma'am. In particular, noticed that her fingertips, the skin around her fingertips was wrinkled in what we call a washerwoman effect. And that's the same thing you can see if you ever go swimming. You notice after an hour or two, your fingertips are wrinkled. Your skin on your fingers absorbs water, and as it does, it's going to buckle some as it swells. It's the same thing that happened here.
And with respect to blood, you testified as to retrieving her torso, retrieving the leg, and finding some blood in Savannah at the residence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's start with her torso first. Can you describe for the jury whether or not she was still bleeding at the time that she was recovered?
No, ma'am.
Can you explain to them what that means with respect to how you physically, she had open wounds, correct?
Right.
Was there any blood still coming from those open wounds?
No, we didn't notice any at
Okay.
that time.
And so, with respect to her leg, was there any blood pooled where her leg was recovered that you recovered?
No, again, keep in mind she was on her back in water, in mud, so it would have been very difficult to tell if there was any blood coming out of her body or issuing from her body at that time, regardless. But
Residence that fluoresced?
no.
Obviously, there was the very light fluorescence, not on the photograph.
Right, the one that was on the wall that you didn't see the photograph, but yes, the wall, the floor, the futon. There was a space in the bedroom on the opposite side of the house from the den on the floor that we did notice some fluorescence on the floor. But Blue Star reacts with iron, so there was some iron furniture in that bedroom, and we swabbed an area just in case and sent it to the crime lab for testing as well.
Okay. And with respect to that area, do you know if there were any findings of blood in that bedroom?
No, there were not.
Okay. So the only place that blood was found is on the back of that futon mattress, on the floor, and on the wall?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any way of knowing how much blood was there?
No, ma'am. Again, a small amount of blood spread over a large can be spread over a large area and made to look like a large amount of blood, especially in the quantities that we're dealing with. We're talking about blood that can't be seen by the naked eye, so but only detected by chemicals, other than what was on the futon.
And specifically, I'm pointing to 1.1 RR. May I publish this, Ron? Do you see what I'm looking at?
I do.
Is that the saturation spot on the futon that you were referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that all you had showing up on the back of the futon?
That was after the cover had been removed, but yes, that's what had appeared to soak through the futon and onto the mattress padding below.
Was this consistent with, if you can say, dismemberment?
I'm not a medical examiner, but there's more blood in the human body than that, so I would think not. But again, it's probably a better Amy question.
But that's all the blood you found?
Yes, ma'am.
One moment, Your Honor. Just so I'm clear, did you look everywhere in the house?
So, yes, so as part of the process, we blacked out the entire house with plastic. And so we covered over, the lights on the microwave. We made sure as much of the light was cut out as we could. And then we sprayed the ceilings, the walls, and the floor of every room.
In every room?
In every room.
And that's all the blood you found?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
We have a recess.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll step out, we'll take 10 minutes. All right, court's in recess.